Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Top of the morning to you. Hope you're having a great day. We're going to take a quick look here at WOJAK, kind of see what's going on. We're going to draw out some new Fibonacci retracement levels and make sure we understand, generally speaking, where this coin could go next, and just help you, get perspective on if it's going to leg up or if we're going to see potentially a retracement here. So if you're new to the channel, though, not a financial advisor, love to teach people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. Thanks again to our community members for the wonderful feedback on a lot of our trades we've been taking here recently. We're cashing in on some pretty significant trades here. BSB short, 55%. Three longs here. ENJ, 78%. SUI trade taken yesterday at 37%. And a previous Gala trade at 104. And this is all taken last night while we're sleeping with our automated trading bot. So again, thank you so much for the awesome feedback, and congrats again to our community members, our premium members. Future reference too, link down below if you want to become a premium member. We do have restricted slots available, so we're actually starting to limit how many members we have. So if you want to jump on in there, go ahead and check that out. And again, thanks again for the wonderful feedback I've been receiving to my current members. So what we want to talk about here is on the daily and work our way down. First of all, just kind of note, we do have potential retracement levels. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But on the daily, it looks a little different here, of course, because it's a bigger picture, right? So again, I've talked about this previously. We kind of had this double bottom pattern here with a price action, albeit fairly ugly, kind of printed a double bottom here, and it took off here, right? So the key takeaway here is that now that we've broken above this key level resistance, its most recent high, we can assume that'll be a new low. Once again, that'll probably won't get filled, but there is potential, of course, for some previous value to essentially get wiped out. Now, keep in mind, we just swept this buy-side liquidity here on the daily, okay? So this big sweep up here is taken care of, so that does imply this 0.618 level is a potential new Fibonacci retracement, okay? So we'll talk about that in just a little bit, but talking about the big picture here, RSI is up over 70, and if we take a look at its history, sort of a short and history, if you will. We don't have a tremendous amount of data here, but the previous time we had the price action up over 70, it did some pretty awesome stuff. So what that basically just tells us is that we cannot really use RSI being up over 70 as a barometer for how well this coin is going to respond or poorly it may respond, because it hasn't been there in a while, and the first time it did, it just took off. It was that initial parabolic increase. So simply put, the daily tells us we're overextended. That's pretty obvious. Let's take a quick look at TD sequential. We are overextended on the daily as well. We did have somewhat of a reset here, though. Keep in mind, even though this is telling us we're overextended, it's really not that bad, because you look at this, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 days of consolidation at this resistance there at 0.786, roughly 11. What is that? Yeah, it's 11,500. So 11.5 was a strong resistance. That is the new support. So, okay, if we're going to draw out a trend line here, we're just going to go ahead and do 11.5 as a potential and kind of see what that looks like. Speaking of trends, let's go ahead and double check. We're above both moving averages, obviously. We want to pay attention to the 20-day SMA. We won't see it for a little while, but this will eventually be the trend setter. So a lot of times it comes up like this. Price action inevitably will break down below it. And at that point, that's when we want to consider, maybe shorting this coin. It's not a good idea to consider shorting right now because it's a little premature, okay? And I've talked to my community a lot about premature position taking, and a lot of times there's liquidity sweeps. We don't see a lot of liquidity here, but there is some fair value, so to be mindful. If the price does pull back, and we kind of double check this with our Elliott wave concurrently, we can see that this fair value gap could get swept. We also got two very large ones down here from previous time frames. Neither of them have been completely filled. This one is mostly filled, so we can kind of forget about that one. But this guy here, this elephant in the room here, right there between 12.5 and 13.1, that's a pretty significant set amount of value, right? Because again, previous resistance, you see the price consolidate here. Strong likelihood we'll see the price action come down and essentially bounce off 0.618. Okay, so these are just statistical probabilities. Is it a guarantee? No, but it does definitely lead to the odds of this happening. Okay, so just be mindful. Speaking of mindful, let's see how much overextension we have right now if we do have it. Okay, because we want to look at certain things. We are at a 9 here on TD sequential. It does tell us that we haven't had enough of a consolidation effort. It's continuing upwards too fast, too quick. These strong legs up are kind of giving it that chance to not calm down. What I mean by that is, if you're unfamiliar with TD sequential, it takes the fourth previous candlestick and counts up. So this 5 is less than 9, so it continues to count up, right? So hypothetically, at this point, we're being overextended. We should see the price pull back, okay? Now, if you do look at its history, though, again, we got a decent amount of volume here, not quite as much as before, but when they had a large amount of volume increase, we saw the price continue higher, okay? Again, we hit a 9 and continued upwards. That's roughly the last time I covered this. The price was actually maxing out at that resistance here, right there at this level, about 9,500. That said, though, if we take a look at the current price action here and kind of compare it with previous volume spikes, we're seeing a lot less volume. It's a little bit more sporadic than previously when we had this strong increase. So with us being at a 9 here, I think it's less likely to shoot up than it would to continue lower, because this amount of volume, while it is high, roughly, it's kind of sporadically increasing. It's not consistent. And I talk a lot about consistency and the fact that up over patterns are the way you want to go. We're not really seeing that. We do have somewhat of a staircase pattern, but these are violent increases there that do not have a potential fallback, or in other words, no retracement. This right here, I love this right here because it comes up and over, comes down to bounce off recent support and continues higher. We don't have that happening right now. It's just kind of coming up and over and nonchalantly cruising sideways and up. Not a big fan of that. So seeing that kind of price action leads me to believe we should see a pullback here in the relative near future. Once again, it's not going to be severe. It'll probably be somewhere in the range of 12.5 to probably a better case scenario about 13.7. Now again, keep in mind, I do send this out on my playout charts here on my Twitter, Telegram, and Discord, so keep in mind, I do have charts that kind of describe to you what I feel is going to happen next, and more often than not, it does fulfill itself. By no means am I phenomenal at this, but I can tell you just these chart patterns, these things here, they work fairly well over time, and as you can kind of see with our results here, albeit some of these swing trades are a few days, a few weeks old, we are cashing in on some pretty significant trades here. We did take a stop loss for Injecta this month though, so honestly, we're not 100%, but I'm okay with the 85 to 90% probability of hitting our targets. So are we going to short WOJAK as a community? It's a possibility. I want to wait a little bit longer to kind of see. Let's do one last thing here to double check on the hourly, kind of see what's going on, because I love using the cloud to our advantage. It's another reason why I want to consider waiting, because if you take a look here, we can see the cloud is averaging itself out here at about 14.5. It could imply this is the new support. If we take that and concurrently look at the amount of volume that we have the most amount of volume in the most recent past. This is roughly only to say last 5 days of trading. You can see the most amount of volume there is about 12.1. So the price does again pull back. This would be a strong support level. That said, though, if we take a look at the current price action, we can kind of see lagging span hasn't hit the price action yet. So that basically tells us that we have momentum, and with the conversion line being above the baseline, those are two really great signs letting us know to leave our long position open. Furthermore, here we got the cloud itself averaging itself at the most recent resistance, or basically new support level, if you will. So that leads me to believe you add all three things together, we still have momentum to the upside, and a pullback wouldn't make a ton of sense right now, even though we are overextended. We're not massively overextended on the shorter time frame. We take a look at TD sequential. We came up to a 9, consolidated nicely, got a reset. Now we're back down to a 2. So the truth is here, we could very well see another 7 to 10 hours of continuation upwards. So to me, a lot of times what you'll see is like liquidity sweeps here of these upper levels get hit a second time. So what I'm going to consider here, I'm going to set like an alert right in this range here, upwards about the 15.5 range. So if the price does wick back up here, we can go ahead and consider taking a short at that point once it's swept that upper liquidity and considers retracing at that point. Keep in mind, we're not just going to jump in blindly because the price comes up here. I'm going to reevaluate and anticipate the price coming back down at that point. So please note that when I set these alerts, I'm not saying that you just go ahead and take a massive entry at those levels. That's not how it works. You take a look at that time and make sure it looks good at that point. But to me, I'd feel much more confident with a short position closer to 16,000, 15.5, right in that range, versus a short right now. Even though, yes, it is overextended, we should see a pullback. I think we're going to see that pullback in another day or two, not necessarily right now. All right, so I hope that helps. Please comment below. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this coin. Are you long? Are you short? What are you considering doing? If you haven't become part of our premium group, please make sure to check that out. Really got some awesome awesome results here too. Some fantastic traders in our group as well. So keep up the good work, everyone. Super proud of you, making some awesome progress, and look forward to work with you. Again, we do have limited spots available here. We're going to start capping out, I think, at roughly about 200, and we're in the 160, 170 range. So got a lot of new members coming over here. Looking forward to work with you again. Thanks again so much. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take good care.